Tactics, aliens, strategy.
Oh, come on, bullcrap, what the
Welcome to Xcom.
Howdy. And lately I have mainly been talking about... I did a 3-hour-long book ranking that made me get complete burnout, so joy. But what may surprise you is I play many different flavors of games. And without a doubt, one of my favorite genres of all time is strategy games. I play too many strategy games to count at this point, but one of my favorites that I always find myself coming back to is a bull, also known by common folk as Xcom. Now, Xcom is actually a very old running franchise that has evolved drastically after its reboot in 2012 and the 2 sequels after that. And those are the games I want to focus on in this video. If you are unfamiliar with this headache-inducing masterpiece of a franchise, simply put, it's about an alien invasion that spans worldwide. That's right, the whole world is in the crapper.
It's dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Simply put, imagine Signs if they didn't have the stupidest weakness known to man. And humans are getting their cheeks clapped when the little-known hero known as
Commander. Oh, that voice though.
And with the
Commander
is a group of anti-alien soldiers known as Xcom. And their job, eradicate all
extraterrestrials with extreme prejudice.
And that's where the games come in. And that's right, Sonny Jim, I marathoned XCOM, XCOM 2, and XCOM Chimera Squad and all of their expansions for this video, and I want to talk about it, so here we are and welcome. I'm going to be going over each game and discussing them, but the gameplay is very similar between them, so I'm going to go ahead and lay out the basics before we hop on in. All of these games are top-down strategy games where you command a group of soldiers in a tile format. The games are turn-based, and each one of them has a unique way of handling combat, but there are defining aspects between all of them. They rely heavily on cover, so if one of your dudes is just standing in the open, they are going to eat laser or plasma or rockets. There are a lot of things that can cause these poor dudes' existence to instantly end. You move where you want to go, you take aim, and shoot, with the percentage showing your likelihood of hitting ET. So if your soldiers hit a 10%, you can kiss the screen. And if they miss a 90%, you can make them stand in the open. Haha, it's good times. You also have out-of-combat management. Again, each one handles this differently, so I'll go over that game by game. And with that, I think I laid out enough groundwork for us to get started, baby. Let's talk about the first game in the reboot, XCOM Enemy Unknown, and its expansion, XCOM Enemy Within. This is the one that started off the story that I mentioned earlier. This is a reboot of the franchise, so it ignores all of these. Aliens see Earth and they think,
"You gonna make me act up. You gonna make me do something I'm gonna regret."
And you're playing
Commander,
controlling XCOM units to kill all alien scum. The story does go deeper as you go on, going over the elders and the high council of the alien races, but their mission remains very obscure, which is good. There are many plot points to go through, like gathering alien artifacts to research and touring around with your soldiers and stuff like that, you know, completely normal stuff during war. Now, before we talk about the actual combat, time to talk about the management part of the game. Like I mentioned earlier, every game has a completely separate gameplay element from just shotgunning signs. And for this one, it is simply base management. You get funds from all the countries depending on how well you performed in that country. So if you leave Mexico to fend for themselves, they won't be paying for your fancy new Thylab. Understandable, I suppose. You use this money to turn yourself into an ant queen and tunnel so deep that even dwarves would start sweating, making all kinds of crap that benefit you in some way. But other than being Bob the Builder, you can also be little Einsteins because you need to constantly be doing research on new projects to unlock new alien dispatching tech. This takes time, and as time goes, the world just gets worse. It's just like real life. So as the game goes on, the difficulty scales perfectly, making this management part essential, because I don't care how good you are at the combat, you need to be optimizing your management to win. But now let's get on to the big part of the game, the combat. This is an isometric turn-based combat system where you are given 4 separate classes that can go into different trees to specialize into a more focused playstyle for that character, or even go deeper into making psyops or mecha soldiers for weebs. And it's more like a RoboCop levels of mecha, so these dudes are gonna go through exactly what RoboCop did. Anything to keep the earth from popping, but I still feel kind of bad. The 4 classes in the game are Assault for shotgunners who just want to smell the green blood up close, Heavy for explosives, no jokes here really, just explosives, Support for, well, supporting, heal your buddies or assist in kills rather than getting them yourselves, the true hero of any team-based online game, and the Sniper for popping heads or pulling out that gap. These classes blend together perfectly and make battles intense the whole way through due to setting up a good mix before the fight. So you go on a mission with different objectives, and you will discover groups of aliens that need to be dispatched the best way you know how, which is this. Or your dudes can be yeeted as well. Yes, this game has permadeath. If one of your good friends gets lasered in the face, that's GG for them. And this hits really hard, especially when you get really attached to one of your dudes. And you can get really attached to these bundles of pixels pretty quickly. And if you lose a high leveled one, it really hits. Because I got to train a level 1 Joe to the strength of my dear friend that just passed away. But yeah, this game is fantastic beyond belief. No real downsides other than that the difficulty spikes here and there. And the game is intimidating for new players. But I also wholeheartedly recommend it. And the last downside is I don't particularly like how it's RNG to see what a rookie turns into, but still this game is amazing. On to the next entry. XCOM 2 and its expansion War of the Chosen. Sick name, by the way. This game takes place years and years after the last one, and this story could have went in so many different directions. Maybe a larger alien fleet, maybe an attack from the oceans like that one old game. Oh, maybe we lose. Yeah, we just couldn't do it. It is canon in the franchise that in the first game we only made it about 3 months into the war when we got bodied by the aliens and they took over. But all seems well actually. It's all going pretty good to the civilians. It seems that the aliens have brought a new age of peace to Earth. But we know better. Well, we would if,
Commander,
wasn't in a stasis chamber. But you're rescued. Now you're the resistance against Advent, the official name of the aliens. So yup, the tone is way different in this one and way better in my opinion. It's a rise up story rather than a just protect what we have sort of story. Both of these are good, but I like this one way better. But enough of the story time for management. This has the same basic setup as the first game, but the biggest difference is the fact that you be moving. So you're upgrading this massive ship, again adding to this resistance feeling. But yeah, it basically works the same. It's good. The real improvement here is the combat. We got 4 brand new classes that are basically just the old ones but bossed up, bro. That was the stupidest sentence I think I've ever written. We got the ranger with a shotgun and a freaking sword. The sharpshooter with a sick nasty magnum. Boy be popping clacks. No, I'm pretty sure that was the stupidest sentence I ever written. How late was it when I wrote this? And the specialist with a drone for range support. So you don't gotta lick the wounds shut like in the first game. And the grenadier with the grenade launcher, so you have many different types of grenades you can equip and not just a rocket. These are all phenomenal. This go around, my favorite is the sharpshooter with a pistol build. This dude became my MVP this game, man. If he did die, I would have loaded the save anyway. Don't take him from me. Along with the rest of my ragtag group. The expansion has 3 new classes that are super advanced and incredibly hard to replace. All with complicated ideologies and from unique factions across the world. But these are all again super fun. Skirmishers revolve around adding action points and getting free points. The Templars are melee focused PSY operatives. And the Outriders are mobile snipers. Well, I guess this is kind of like a DMR. They just like kind of skulking around in the shadows, okay? Anyways, all these 7 classes in XCOM 2 are absolutely amazing. They blow the first ones out of the water. Oh yeah, PSYOPs are back as well. The RNG rolls are still here, which kind of sucks for me myself, but I do kind of get it. It gets even deeper in this game with the relationships your soldiers can make with each other. They can become best friends and grant each other benefits when they fight together, so the strategy comes in of putting them together. Even more role-playing goodness here. Customization is vastly improved as well. You can make some wild looking dudes, and you get more as the soldiers level up. Yeah, get attached to this one.
do it. Love this person. Write them a biography. Do it. Just do it.
Enemy variety is increased greatly as well, each new enemy changing your tactics greatly. The game basically plays the same as Enemy Unknown, but just upgraded with new mechanics out the wazoo. More ways to lose your dear friends as well. Oh, also, the story gets way better. War of the Chosen brought a crazy new story element that is just absolutely phenomenal. There are now 3 Chosen, which are 3 super OP aliens that will hunt you down and occupy different areas of the world, affecting the area around it. You must gain intel and hunt them down, and going up against them is crazy fun in these amazing boss battles. It's some of the most fun I had in this entire marathon without a doubt. Each one has unique weaknesses and strengths that makes countering them super fun and interesting. Take things further with a new unlock system. Everything in this game just adds to the first one, and it is easily one of my favorite games of all time without a doubt in my mind. If I rub my last 3 brain cells together, I can manage to do really well most of the time. And there's a lot of time to mess around because this game is long. Gear up, grab some blood clotting food, and take the week off work and it will be worth it, until your heart stops from chugging Pepsi. But there is one downside, and that's there is a lot of levels that have countdowns to them. So you have to rush through the levels to get through them in a certain amount of turns. I'm not a huge fan of that, but I never failed one in my playthrough recently, so it's obviously not that big of a deal, but it's worth mentioning. But I'm not going to spoil the rest of the story, but I gotta give some stuff away to get on to the next game. But heck, the description alone of the next game does that, and as well as just the cover of the game as well. Seems Simply put, you win. Aliens run away because you kill the elders. The elders being super amped up in this one with a fantastic final boss fight. Once this is over, we celebrate and
Commander
gets to work fixing up this broken planet. Then we move on to the latest game so far in the franchise, that being Xcom Chimera Squad. Now, if you can't already tell by the title, this is it's not the huge Xcom 3, baby. No, it's more like Xcom side stories. We are in the realms of spin-off and not full-blown next step. The price of this game alone tells you that, as it's not fully priced, and even the graphics are just XCOM 2. But anyways, what's the story of Xcom Chimera Squad? This takes place years after we kicked the aliens off our lawn. Humans have reclaimed Earth, but a few stragglers were left behind. And apparently not all aliens were fully into murdering the human race, and some defaulted before the war even ended. So not all the aliens are signs. No, we got some ETs up in here. And now humans and aliens are trying to live peacefully together. So now enters City 31, a huge hodgepodge of aliens and humans living in peace, but of course things are still sour since your new neighbor just kind of danced on the asses of your old town a few years ago. So in comes Chimera Squad, a SWAT-like group of aliens and humans alike working together to keep peace in this city. So you go on various missions to keep peace and take down the crime rings in the city. And in comes the management. You ain't managing the whole world anymore, just a city. So it is really simple. And it's as simple as building one thing per district and doing what you can in those areas to lower the anarchy. This time around, if your anarchy goes all the way up, you lose the game, but I never even got close. The management is by far the lightest in the entire series. It is beyond simple. Use these active abilities to help keep the peace and do missions to lower them elsewhere. It really doesn't get much more complicated than that. There are these other management sections, but calling it that is being generous. And I think this is more of a downside, but I will get into this part of the game later. Time for combat. This one plays very differently than its better brothers, because Chimera Squad may be a good game, but that's it. It ain't amazing like 2. Okay, the combat is now in your favor from the start. You position in different entrances and select unique abilities for a breach, since you are playing a SWAT team. A fun enough mechanic that lends itself to a new order of things. The game is no longer you go, alien go, you go, alien go. No, no, no. Now it's Dave, you go. Okay, now Susan, you go. Now it's Blatchrach's turn. Ukenskraka. Now you. It's now rotating order depending on several factors. It makes combat flow differently, and it works here since it is way scaled down. No massive large battles that will destroy an entire city block and half of the Chuck E. Cheese. No, it is a small tight area. And this goes into the new team setup. No more classes, no more permadeath. We got named characters, and they each have their own distinct abilities. And if they die in a round, we get a game over, try again. And each playthrough you will roll different members, so replay value is here. But I'm mixed on this. One hand, I like that we have defined characters. I can grow to like them because they're more defined and they have a written backstory. But on the other hand, without a chance of losing my beloved high-ranking character that I put 30 hours into, the stakes are way lower. But other than that, combat is still challenging at some point, but it is way easier than the other games because these classes are crazy unbalanced. There is only one real healer in the game. So Terminal locked herself into every single game I could ever put her in, no matter what. So the other characters just got the shaft and were forced to do research because yeah, a character is required to do that. And when I was just hours into the game, I just accepted that this guy was never leaving the workstation. He was way under leveled at that point. It's dumb and I don't like it. Also, there are so many attachments that you will never use them all. Some are way better than others. I think this game really needed way better balancing to feel really challenging. The Brute and the Healer were always surefire lock-ins, and then it was just rotating the rest of them for the rest of the game basically. The story isn't engaging either. In the end, you discover that a big bad group of bad guys, try saying that, it took me 12 times to get it done right, and you beat these guys in like a 1 mission or 2, and then credits, happily ever after. Overall, this game is still good, don't get me wrong. As you can tell, I said everything worked and flowed well, but when compared to the others, it is obviously the lesser in the trilogy. And that is the series. In the end, Xcom is an amazing gaming series that I fully recommend you play. 2 is obviously my favorite, followed by 1, and lastly is Chimera Squad. I have a ton of other videos like this planned where I'm going to be going over franchises because this is something I'm really interested in doing, so keep an eye on the channel for that in the future. I would even say that I would recommend just playing 2. You don't really need to play 1 to understand the story, just look up a quick story recap online, and only play Chimera Squad if you really liked the second one. And you can go back to the first one if you enjoyed the second one as well, but I think the second one is the best in the franchise without a doubt. Anyways, thanks guys. See ya.